The first thing we'll be talking about is barbed wire placement. Now, a lot of people will get barbed wire, and they'll do something like random like this. So they'll just place it in like the middle of the doorway, and they'll just leave it like that. But the problem with this, it essentially allows attackers to destroy the barbed wire from complete safety. And so it doesn't actually allow you to play off of the information you could be getting from barbed wire. So the way to fix this is to try and put it as far in as possible while still making it to where they would have to walk into it to come inside. And what this means is that they have to expose themselves that little bit more to actually break it. And so you can potentially try and play off of it because even though it's not perfect, right, they're just kind of barely exposed, trying to barely get close enough. It's a lot better than them being like right back down here and just hitting it when it's in the middle of the doorway or something. This is even more effective on a staircase like this. So obviously you don't want to put it right at the bottom because you have the same issue. They could just hit it from complete safety. But if you put it up the staircase, they have no choice but to actually come up and expose themselves. And they have to hit it. If they are making the trip to come all the way up and hit the barbed wire, that gives you something to actually free fire off of. You know that they're going to be very vulnerable. They're not going to be able to just like do it quickly. And they're not going to be able to do it from complete safety down here. Now you can actually do the exact opposite with barbed wire. And that is that you can place it as far outside the door as possible while still making it close enough to where they have to walk into it to get inside. And you would do this when you know you're not going to be able to play off of it at all. You're going to be on somewhere on the other side of the site, and when somebody hits it, all you're going to get is a sound cue, and you're not going to be able to actually react fast enough. And so in this case, you actually want to place it as far out as possible. You want to spread out the pressure as far as possible with your utility, so that way you get the sound cue as early as possible. They're going to be in complete safety either way, whether you put it here or here. So you might as well put it as far out as possible. Putting it right here is not going to give you the advantage that it would if you're actually going to play off of it while they're being put in a vulnerable position. A one-way angle with Azami, and shut your cheeks. And this works basically off of how your vision is in this game. When I'm standing up here, I can see in front of me and down. This is the relevant place to look because this is where somebody will be walking around and standing. It's going to be from here to here. All right, feet to head. This is what I'm looking at. This is what I want to be able to see. And so when I've got this thing here, if I'm the defender, I can't see head and shoulder level. All right, but I can see crouch level. I can see something. All right, but it's only down. But if I'm an attacker coming up the stairs, I can't see anything. I can't see in front of me, and I can't see down. Even if I crouch, I still can't see them, but they can see all of my body at crouch level, minus maybe my head or something. They can see something, although not everything, and I can't see anything. I see nothing. Now, specific tips with this, the Azami barricades, because of the way that they're shaped, if you don't place them properly, you can get to a point where you're actually able to see, but even then, when they come over here, you still have an even better angle than they do, right? All they can see is literally just your head, and you can still see their whole body. It's just that they now have the potential to shoot back. Either way, it's a very powerful position. But depending on which way you expect them to come, you want to angle it slightly towards the angle that they're coming from, so it's lowest at that point. So that would be like putting it more, on this case, more on like the right 1/3 of the top of the door frame as low as possible. You want to put it just barely on the bottom, and then to the left, to the right 1/3, or to the left 1/3, depending on which one you're trying to favor. Because if you just put it right in the middle, they're going to be able to see you immediately, no matter which way they come. So the next thing is putting silencers on your pistols on attacking operators. Now, experienced players, especially in custom 1v1s, they're going to be able to recognize the sound of specific primary weapons on attack. And a lot of people just come straight out of spawn, and they will use their primary weapon to shoot a default can. And this will tell, like if they hear the AK-12, they know that they're on Ace. Or they hear the R4C, they know they're on Ash, or whatever. And it can kind of tell the defender what kind of attack they should be expecting immediately at the start of the round. And so to help prevent you giving away your operator earlier than you need to, you can use your pistol, specifically a pistol with a silencer on it, because even certain pistols have a distinct sound people will remember, and will help them narrow down the operators that you're on. And so it doesn't hurt to put the silencer on the pistol, shoot the cam, and avoid giving away your operator earlier than you actually need to. Next thing I'm going to talk about is Claymore placement. A lot of the times they will just put it like right here, totally straight onto the door, and what that means is that there are often lasers either coming out of the door or coming into the frame, just because they put it straight on. And this will tell somebody, like if you're a flanking defender, when they're not ADS'd, when they know they're not in any danger, they're going to see that immediately while they're not ADS'd, while they're not tunnel visioned by ADSing. And so what you can do is you can actually try to place your claymores at an angle, which makes it to where the lasers do not come out to the door frame or out of the door. So if I'm a defender coming over here, I'm going to ADS and I'm going to start tunnel visioning, and there's a chance that I'm not going to even see it to begin with, right? The only indication would be if I have like really good peripheral vision. And this just increases the chances that they're actually going to step on it if you don't have it literally sticking out the doorway, because they're going to usually ADS right here with the crack, and then they're going to... So in general, nothing has actually changed from the last video. I use advanced metrics, and then my match replay is off. The HUD is entirely default. I've never changed a single thing, same as last time. The audio is also more or less the same. This, I think, is just a little bit different, a little bit less or whatever, but this is not really a solid thing. Sometimes I'll change it. And then normally menu music is on, but I have it turned off because I'm trying to record. Now with the dynamic range, I use hi-fi, and this is because the advantages that you get from night mode are not advantages that I like see reason to use night mode for. So the only actual advantage that it gives you is that you can shoot your gun without having to worry about blowing your ears out when you have a high volume. So it allows you to have a higher overall volume. But it's not actually like your footsteps and your gunshots are actually the same, right? Like night mode is not a different type of audio where it's coded to be like, okay, gunshots sound similar to footsteps. It just uses a compressing program to where when you shoot your gun, for instance, it's a really loud sound. It knows that that sound is loud, so then it lowers the game volume until you're done shooting the gun, right? But it's not like when you shoot your gun, I'm going to hear footsteps, but on hi-fi, I'm not going to hear footsteps when I shoot my gun, right? Like it lowers the entire volume of the whole game. And so what this means is that the proportional decrease in your ability to hear footsteps or other small sounds when you shoot, for instance, it's proportionally exactly the same. Another like actual issue with night mode is that you can end up getting audio fatigue because part of the way that your brain distinguishes between different sounds is actually the volume of the sounds. And so if everything sounds more flat, your brain can actually start to glaze over certain things. It can start to zone out. And so a higher dynamic range is usually better for distinguishing between different sounds. For display, there are some differences here, and notably, the difference is I have a different monitor. I used to have a 75 hertz monitor. I got a new monitor. It's 180 hertz, which you're going to see in the setup portion. Same aspect ratio, VSync off. I have the same cap in the files, which is 288. Same field of view and all of this. Same brightness. I never actually changed this. So yeah. Graphics is also mostly the same. Everything is low, linear, off, 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 like that. And then I have no like specific scaling, like target FPS. I have anti-aliasing off, 100% render scaling, so it's like you're always seeing 100% HD. Now controls, this is the one where it's most different. Now we have the drone boost thing, and I have it on hold. Un-ADS sensitivities, they are the same. It's 6 and 6. But my ADS sensitivities have actually changed slightly. My 1x magnification has gone from 50 to 55, and my 2.5 has gone from 89 to 110. It's obviously not good to change your sensitivity all the time, and it can kind of like mess you up. There's people who like whenever they're playing bad, they'll like change their sensitivity, be like higher or lower because like, oh, I'm overshooting something, or I'm not, like they'll like change their sensitivity all the time, like as if that's gonna make them better or worse. And all you're gonna do is just like confuse their brain if they just like change their sensitivity every other week. So you don't want to do that. However, it is a good idea to change your sensitivity if you notice over like hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of playing the game that there are like consistent mechanical limitations that you're dealing with as a result of your sensitivity being too high or too low. So for me, there were two main mechanical limitations that I had identified through a lot of experience And the first thing is that, specifically with 2.5 magnification, I was having trouble like tracking doorways sometimes. I was having to pick up my mouse a bit more to even do that. And this sort of problem can be more common with higher magnification scopes because obviously nobody plays on an exact one-to-one with their un-ADS, which would be 137. Because when you're zoomed in, it just feels like things are moving way too fast on your screen because of the magnification. This is how magnification works. And so it feels very uncontrollable. And most people use less than a one-to-one. And so the sensitivity is just physically less relative to the game. It's going to be more movement required with your hand to achieve the same thing in game. So raising it up can help with that. It can also help with recoil control because again, with how recoil control works, you have to pull down a certain distance to match the upward acceleration. If your sensitivity is lower, you physically have to pull down more to achieve the same effect. It feels like there's more recoil, even though in game there isn't. If it's way too low, it can feel almost impossible to control certain guns with a 2.5 that it may feel really easy to control with a lower magnification. And so raising it up can help with recoil control. So these are the two reasons why I changed these sensitivities to make them a little bit higher. Then you can see all these things. The only thing that's changed is drone deployment. So it used to be on standard, so that means when you throw it, you would automatically go in the drone. And one of the reasons why I didn't mind having it like that is that when you were on Montane, you could throw a drone and instantly go inside of it, and it would take less time because if you notice when you have advanced, you will throw a drone, your shield will come back in front of you, and then you have to spam your observation cams button to actually, and then the shield goes behind your back, and then you get into it. So it takes longer. But I started turning it on advanced, and so that way I have to throw the drone, and then I can open it, and I've gotten a lot more advantage from this than the advantage that comes from standard. Everything else is the same. Aim is hold, lean is hold, sprint is toggle, crouch is toggle, and prone is toggle. Now, this this matters in a different way now because if you remember, my controls, I used to not have a crouch bind, and so control was my prone. So I would only have prone. I've never used walk. I would only have prone and not crouch. But I actually switched it. I changed it from prone to crouch. And again, this also provided me an advantage. Now, is it best that you have a bind for both? Yep. But I have not found a viable bind for prone, and I basically never need it. Like, there's very few situations where I actually need it. Like, sometimes you need to, sometimes it's good to, like, prone to get under a desk to, like, shoot a drone or whatever that you can't see when you're crouched. But more or less, I've almost never needed it, and I've gotten more advantage from switching to crouch, to using crouch with the same bind. So yeah, that is one of the binds that's changed. But yeah, overall, ADS the same lean binds, shift space, same sprint bind, same navigate bind for vaulting and whatnot. Shoot, aim, whatever, reload E, R, interact as E. And then another bind that I changed was melee attack, because if you remember, my melee used to be on my front side button, which is button 5, and then my sprint is on button 4. But I changed my mouse grip, which you will see in the video section, in the setup section, that I changed my mouse grip to be more comfortable and more fingertip oriented. And so as a result, my hand is further back on the mouse, and it makes it harder to reach my front side button. It was messing up my grip. And so I switched to putting my melee bind on my keyboard on C. Everything else the same here. Same primary gadget, secondary gadget, observation tools, drone deploy, everything is the same. Ping, character, switchability mode, weapon swap, drop diffuser, and red ping. And all of these are always default for observation tools. For privacy, everything is default the same way. I've never done anything with this. Accessibility, everything's default except for the fact that screen shake is turned off. And I don't actually remember if this is by default on or off, but I have motion blur off. Everything else I never messed with at all. As you can see, these are the cheeks here. Same keyboard. I don't know how long I'm going to have the same one because I've run out of switches to actually replace. I've had to replace the WASD switches and other things a couple times. So I don't know if I'll try to get more switches.
Because the reason I bought this keyboard to begin with is that it was a 60% 81 key, which means it had the F keys, and it was also only like 30 something dollars. So I don't know if I'll be able. I don't know if I'll just get another one that's the same as this, or if I'll just try to get more switches to replace it. If you know, try to find whatever switches this uses. But yeah, same keyboard, and then same mouse. Although I have started using it wireless most of the time because the way the desk is, there's not enough space and it gets caught on the mouse pad and everything like that. Even though there is a slight disadvantage in using it wireless because there's like a 0.5 millisecond delay. But I will probably be using it wireless for the foreseeable future until I get a better desk or whatever, which is probably not going to be for a long time. But yeah, this is the different mouse grip. As you remember, it used to be like some really weird thing where I was like all the way up here, and it was like really weird. If you guys remember that, the way it looked, it was kind of diagonal. But I completely changed my mouse grip. It's basically more like fingertip, and the part that touches is like barely, like a little bit, and so my finger's way back. It's a lot more comfortable. Like that's the main reason I changed it, is because it would get to the point where it's so uncomfortable. Like my finger would be digging into this sharp part here and everything. It was just very uncomfortable to do. And so this is a much more natural grip. I was just noticing that over the hundreds of hours I was playing, it was just disadvantageous. It was not comfortable, and I had to change it. So yeah, I would say I can't like really reach the front side button, so this is the only one I use now. And now C is the melee. This thing is still here. The Johnson right there. Used to hold the cord. Now I have this charging dock thing, so I just put it on to charge instead of having to put the cord in and out and wear the cord. Alright, so this is the monitor, the newer monitor, the 180 hertz monitor. So yeah, it's slightly different. You can see the stand is like, you know, a V-shaped cheek. You know, V-shaped cheeks. I also got different earbuds. These might look pretty similar. They're actually different. They're also very cheap as well. They're like $5 from Walmart. But the advantage is that they actually have directional sound for some reason. Like they actually literally have directional sound, which is something I didn't have in my other earbuds. No directional sound whatsoever. So hearing basically didn't even matter for me because I just couldn't tell where any sound was coming from. But these actually have directional sound. So that is an advantage. Obviously, it's not as good as like if you get an actual headset that's like dedicated to this or whatever. Like I'm sure it's not the best sound quality, but I've majorly improved. Like I've literally just gotten kills of people just from like hearing where they're at, just because I have like even the most basic directional sound. So it has definitely helped cheeks with winning. As you can see, I still use 800 DPI, but I've actually changed my polling rate to 1000.